So let's get going here. And as we get into our first part on flight hazards, we're going to talk about things that are both hidden to the pilot or maybe observable hazards, things that you may know about or things that they're out there and you just have no idea they're out there. And I always tell classes, it's not like your multifunction display is suddenly going to flash a message, caution, there's wind shear out there, or caution, there's wake turbulence out there. Now, there's things that happen out there that you just have to be aware of the event happening to predict it. Okay? Nor does your multifunction display come up with A, B, C. Would you like to A, do this for wind shear, or B, do this for wind shear, or C? No, it's you got to know about it and you got to know what to do about it out there. So let's start looking at some flight hazards here. Now we're going to look at illusions for the first part of flight hazards. Okay. I always like this screen. You kind of stare at it a little bit, stare at the airplane, and you swear those circular shapes are moving on the edges. They're kind of rotating, and you go look at one of those circular shapes, and it's not moving, but another one is moving that wasn't moving previously there. So just it's kind of an illusion, and we'll kind of hit on that. Here's a discussion board for you in Top Hat if you want to post any questions or comments. But let's take a look at how your eye and your brain work together here. And let's take a look at this screen. And you look at the center and you see these blue dots on the green background. They're not moving, but all around it, they're moving. But when you move your eyes over and focus in that area where they're moving, they're not moving. Now, everything else around it is still moving. And you keep doing that. You keep looking at different spots. And everywhere you look, dead center, dots are not moving. But around that area, they are actually moving. Right? That's all part of the illusion. This is all helping us to understand that we have a dedicated and very narrow window with our eyeballs, so to speak, where everything is in nice, crisp detail. And around that area, we start to lose the crispness or the detail of what we're seeing. And that's your brain trying to put things together and not doing a very good job of that. Okay? Let me show you with a different example here on how your peripheral vision will not always connect with your brain very well, right? I'm going to show you a video clip of famous actors, actresses. You will recognize them. They're going to be on the left side and the right side. Now, in the very center here is going to be a cross to look at. So just look at the cross on the first go around, okay? And as you're looking at the cross, let your peripheral vision look at these celebrities. So start up here in just a second. And you are looking at the cross in the middle. And as you're looking at the celebrities, you're thinking their eyes don't look right. Their nose or their mouth, they just don't look right on that. They look a little bit funny. They look distorted. This is because you're looking directly at the cross, okay? Again, that's helping us understand that our peripheral vision is not looking very crisp and with details as like the center, you like about a 2-inch radius of your eyes look, okay? So I'll continue playing this, right? And as we go through, look over at a celebrity and oh, wow, their face looks normal. But as we continue to look at the cross, everything looks abnormal. That's your brain trying to fill in the missing details since it doesn't get enough of the details from the peripheral vision. And why do we talk about this? Because, our eyesight is critically important in the airplane and what we are looking at. We're looking dead center instruments, all right? Our peripheral vision might be some of the other screens or instruments in the aircraft, or it could be peripheral outside of the aircraft, and that could also lead into certain types of illusions. Let's take a look at a few illusions that are going to be occurring due to kind of lack of detail out there. not necessarily with the eyeball, but just with your brain's interpretation of what information is out there. And remember, if your brain does not have enough information from your eyeball, it's going to try and fill in the missing pieces on you. Okay? So give, for example, this area where a pilot is looking at a line feature, a line of lights at night. Okay? And the whole area beyond that is kind of the black hole. There's no detail, no lights going on. So pilot sees this row of lights and the brain puts it together because there's lack of detail for it, that's the horizon. Now, looking at the flight instruments, okay, in particular the attitude indication, we'll see it looks like the nose is at a level attitude, but the wings are not level. They're actually in a bank right now. So looking at this from the illusion of it, not enough detail, your brain has taken a line feature and applied it as the horizon, when in fact, the correct horizon is just a little bit higher and at a different angle to the airplane. This is a row of lights along a shoreline. That's what it is. If you ever have a chance to fly over Lake Michigan at night, especially when the visibility has a restriction to it, right? This effect will intensify for you. It's very eerie being over Lake Michigan and thinking you know which way north is, and then you look at the shoreline and you have no idea where north is because of how the shoreline curves around. Right? So this pilot is in a banked attitude right now. So that's one thing our brain does, not enough information that supplies missing details, and it doesn't get it right. Here's another example. Because of the sloping cloud deck, the pilot doesn't have enough details. So the brain's starting to interpret the horizon a little differently. Again, we see a line of lights here. And that's what the brain is interpreting as the horizon. Okay. And we look at attitude indication, it does look like the wings are level in this situation here. But the attitude indication for the pitch indicates that the pilot is actually pointing the nose down a little bit lower than the actual horizon. That white line does represent where the horizon is, and the pilot has now misinterpreted that line of lights for the horizon, pointing the nose down, because that's where you got to put the nose in relation to the horizon, the nose slightly above the horizon. And if the pilot has picked out a false horizon, they're going to lower the nose until they've got it in that right picture for their mind. Mind you, they have it too low and they'll be losing altitude. And if not paying attention to flight instruments, then we're going to be descending into whatever that blackness is. Is it cloud obscuring mountain? Is it cloud over lake? Whatever it is, we'll be descending down into it. That's nighttime, but it can also occur in the daytime as well. If you don't have enough information, if your eyeball's not bringing in enough information for your brain's going to use what it has and fill in the missing pieces here. So when we look at this pilot, they've done a very good job of keeping the wings level with the cloud deck during a daytime flight. But back this picture up just a little bit, and we'll see all the clouds are sloping. And so this pilot would be having a right bank during flight. So illusions can occur day or night. There was a time I was flying over, past Cleveland to Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and it was a daytime flight. Visibility was only 7 miles for the flight, and we had a lot of haze going on, and that was no problem. My plan though was to fly basically south of Detroit over Lake Erie, kind of doing the island hopping at 8,000 feet, 7,500 feet, to be able to be within glide distance of land and go north of Cleveland there. That was the shortest distance. So I could legally do that according to the FOM, according to the FARs. So that was the plan. But that visibility was a problem. We had an overcast at about 9,000 feet, plus the visibility restriction, about 7 miles in haze. By the time I got to the edge of Lake Erie, I couldn't tell the difference between the lake water and the cloud up high. I could look straight down and I could see water. And when I bring my eyes to about a 30-degree angle past that point, I lost the water. It just merged in with a cloud. Couldn't tell what it was. So therefore, there was no horizon at all to see. And then all of a sudden, I noticed I'm in a pretty wicked bank angle. It's like, okay, it's time to go on instruments. Now I'm VFR at the time, right? And I'm hand flying because that's what I do. I fly the airplane. I don't let it fly me. And the escape that I had, well, I looked to my right and there was Toledo. And there's the shoreline. Boom, instantly got the horizon back, got my attitude back. And I just told Detroit, like, I'm not going to fly over the lake anymore. I'm going to turn south and fly along the shoreline. And Detroit said, okay, yeah, go ahead and do that. So there we go. It does happen in the daytime. It does happen regardless of your experience level. So keep that in mind. Some other interesting things that can happen, other illusions, little tricks of light. Scientists don't really understand autokinesis, why it occurs yet, right? But as you stare at one of the little lines or the balls of light up there, it might move all of a sudden on you. It's like, whoa, did that just move? Oh, yeah, I think I just saw another one move there. That's autokinesis, where it just seems like a light suddenly moves on you. And then you go look at it and it's like, no, it's right where it always was. Right? So autokinesis. Some vestibular illusions. So vestibular should ring a bell with your ear canal system. What a wonderful attitude system. You have a 3-axis attitude erecting system in your head, the vestibular system. Little tiny hairs sticking up in your ear canal, the fluid in the ear canal, making them move a certain direction, indicating movement on your X, Y, or Z axis there. But without proper visual horizon out there, or even an instrument horizon, your brain doesn't have enough information to process what's going on, and the fluid in the ears could be subjected to G-force that causes it to move in a different way than what the airplane's actually moving. Okay? And so your instructor probably showed you this early on by having you fly with your eyes closed and trying to guess what is the attitude we're in. Your instructor will just probably fly the airplane, maybe put it into a gentle turn one way, maybe level, maybe climb it, and you're thinking, oh wow, we're turning, we're spinning, we're climbing, and then you look up, oh, we're straight and level. So those are the leans going on. A couple of other things that are not so nice out there. First, the graveyard spiral. This is a situation where the pilot has omitted some flight information. In particular, the pilot did not recognize that they have the wings at a small bank angle. And we got to think aerodynamically, when the wings are at a small bank angle, the nose drops. Your lift vector shifts. And so straight up, your lift vector is at an angle. So you start descending. And that's what the pilot recognizes, that we're descending. So they pull back on the yoke, but they don't fix the bank. And that helps steepen the bank up a little bit, which causes the nose to drop again. And so the pilot recognizes the loss of altitude and pulls back on the yoke again, which steepens up the bank angle, which drops the nose again. And they pull back on the yoke to bring the nose back up to level, which steepens the bank. You see where this is going? It just keeps getting steeper. Nose keeps wanting to drop, and they keep pulling back and pulling back. So they just eventually get into this spiraling descent. And at the bottom of that descent is the ground, and the ground just kills you, and hence the term graveyard. You just made your own graveyard with the airplane there. The next one is the graveyard spin. You're already in a bad situation in this one, because if you're in instrument conditions and you're spinning, that's bad, all right? And now remember, your vestibular system, your fluid in your ear canals are going a certain way because of the spin. Once you put anti-spin control and get it out of the spin, your fluid is still moving in your ears. And you suddenly think, I'm spinning in the other direction, which you then reverse your spin control. And instead of anti-spin control, you put the pro spin back into it and put yourself back into a spin in the other direction. And then eventually your fluid in your ears catch up again, like, oh, I'm spinning again. And so you put your anti-spin in there, and that gets you out of the spin, but you now think you're spinning the other way because the fluid's still moving. And you just continue that pattern all the way down to the ground. Hence, you make your own little graveyard. Right? And this time it's all nice and neat in one little pile. They just put a little dirt over it and put a little marker up, and you're all done. So graveyard spin. I want to make sure you understand the difference between these two here.